Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending our next session, Gapped Out, Unconventional Strategies for Addressing Cyber Talent Shortage.
Thanks.
What do you want to sit, Bobby?
Wherever
Is it
you
there
sit.
or there?
Wherever you don't sit.
You want to stand? All right. Hi, everybody. Nice to see all of you. Way from the back. Love it. I'm Michaela Doherty. I'm with Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And I'm just, thrilled to be here to moderate this conversation. I'm going to introduce these two so we can just get into it really quickly. So this here is Bobby Ford, also with Hewlett Packard Enterprise. He's our Chief Security Officer. And this is Ben Brophy, and he's the CTO at Reckitt, inclusive of cyber responsibilities. So today we just really want to keep this conversational. Hopefully there'll be a lot of back and forth, and if you guys have questions at the end, please do feel free. So I say we just jump right into it.
Sounds like a winner.
Sounds like a winner. All right. So obviously talent shortage is in the title of this session. Just really want to start it out and talk about the point of view. I think we've all probably gotten sick of seeing all the statistics, right, that I've written down here, but 600,000 jobs open, there's going to be 3.5 million vacancies, something like 95% increase in the number of job postings in this industry over the last 5 years. But Bobby, I want to get your thoughts. What do you think? Do we actually have a talent shortage, and if so, what's the core issue?
Thanks for the question. I was a philosophy major. So for me, it starts with, So for me, it starts with the philosophy. And my philosophy is this: I don't believe that we have a talent shortage. I think we have an experience shortage. And when you recognize that, or when you believe that, you realize that, there's talent everywhere. And the onus is on the organization to create opportunities to give more people experience. And so once you realize that, you're like, no, it's not a talent shortage, it's an experience shortage. So I'm not out there searching for talent. I'm actually looking within the organization to see how can I create opportunities to give more people, experience.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the experience shortage really being the issue. And we'll talk a little bit later about some of the things like actual strategies that we're deploying. But I think, Ben, tell us, how are you dealing with this right now and what's the status?
So, do we have a talent shortage? I absolutely agree fundamentally with what Bobby says. Spot on. I don't think there's a talent shortage. My perspective is maybe a little bit different in the sense that I think it's around the skills. The talent is there. There's a plethora of talented people who have the drive and have the capability to really contribute significantly to cybersecurity. And I think we'll talk a little bit about our journeys later on.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is around how do you, give the opportunities to people to allow them to build their skills, build their experience in a safe and trusted working environment where they feel supported to really drive forward on that challenge. And also, it's a fantastic opportunity. I think when we look at the statistics of huge numbers of open vacancies and roles, but we don't really have the skills to be able to fill those roles. There's never been a better time to take the opportunity to step into the cybersecurity space, which is absolutely thriving. We're all here in the thick of it, full of talent, full of skills. But if you want to emerge into cybersecurity, there's never been a better time. There never has been a better time.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, and in your organization right now.
Yes.
What's your talent situation?
It's not good. No. So I think we've got some fantastic talent in the organization. We've got some excellent leaders. We've got some excellent young up-and-comers. I just don't have the capacity. I don't have enough of them. We're running, at the moment, in cybersecurity globally, we're running a 50% vacancy rate. So of the over 100 roles that we have, I'm really, really struggling to be able to fill the vacancy rate at the moment. It is a very, very real problem, and it's something that's so serious. We've recorded it and reported it at our quarterly GEC meeting, so the CEO knows that we have a challenge and a problem. It's not just about throwing money at it. Mm-hmm. That helps, obviously, but I think it creates a bit of a false expectation in economy. Yeah. But it's and without those skills, without that capability and capacity in our organisation, it puts us at risk. It puts us at risk of not being able to respond to serious cybersecurity incidents. It puts us at risk of potential issues with our products that we produce and we sell to millions and tens of millions of people around the world every day. Yeah. So it's a very, very real problem.
Yeah. Well, and I think, obviously this session is called Gapped Out. So this is, really about how we get more people into the industry. So rather than, focusing on the problem, I think we want to focus on what are some of the big misunderstandings, misconceptions, misperceptions, both on the organization side and on the people side, right? That's really inhibiting this problem from getting solved. And I think, again, we'll talk a little bit more later about my role and some of the things that we've been doing. But one of the reasons I came into this role is because talent was going to be part of it. I do not have a background in talent. I'm not an HR person. But this idea of there's actually a responsibility that we have in this industry to solve this, not just for ourselves, but for others. Unless we all sort of take that seriously, then it's not really ever going to get fixed, right? So these are some of the myths that we wanted to break down. I mean, the first one I think we sort of already addressed, right? It's there are more people than jobs if we just can upskill, train, and kind of identify the right talent. Yeah. But for the second one, candidates need a degree and maybe even a technical degree to get into this space. What do you think about that, Ben? Is that necessary?
It's absolutely not. It's not. I'm a good example of my journey is quite interesting, but I don't have a 4-year undergraduate degree, and yet I have the opportunity to lead and build one of the most fantastic technology organizations for a massive CPG organization.
All right, where'd you start then?
That's a really good question. Look, I came out of school, and we'll come to a question a little bit later on. Came out of school. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. Loved maths, loved physics. But I lived in a fantastic area where the surfing was really good. And I had fantastic ambitions and dreams to be world-class surfer on the WSL, and I had some good mates of mine actually ended up on the WSL. But and my family worked in hospitality and also grew wine. So I actually went and did my chef's apprenticeship. So for 6 years I worked as a chef. My apprenticeship was 4 years. Fantastic time of my life, and I would not change any of it. I wouldn't change any of the skills I learnt, building teams, high-performing teams, working under pressure, listening to customers, challenging myself, really difficult social situations in terms of being antisocial hours. So I learned a lot, learned how to be resilient, but also operate in a really artistic space. So it was super, super good. I worked in some fantastic restaurants around the world. And then I made a decision to change my career. I was like, what do I want to do? Well, I loved physics, I loved maths, I loved working with technology and computers. And so I went and I did a training course, just a sort of standard computer training course. And I upskilled myself. I gave myself skills. I trusted in all of my other capabilities, but I upskilled myself, right? I went and solved the frigging problem for myself. And then I went and worked for, I went in as a trainee technician, and I worked, I got my hands dirty. I was working networking. I was working with server builds and NT4 migrations onto Windows 2000. I was working with Solaris and all sorts of stuff, right? All the really proper computing sort of stuff for old people. And then a massive cybersecurity incident occurred in the organization. And I had to figure out, how did it happen, when did it happen, why did it happen, how do I find out if it's happening again, and how do I contain it, stop it, respond to it, all of those kind of things. And that triggered my love of cybersecurity, and never looked back.
I think everyone probably has a sliding doors moment where they're like, how did I get here? That was your moment.
Yep.
Well, just to stay with you for a second, because if I click, I'm pressing the wrong button. I should probably press the right one. I mean, if we think about, let's talk about jobs for a second, because there's the college element of it. You're getting a 4-year degree, but then there's also just how we think about writing job descriptions. What are we requiring? What kind of people are we looking for? And I'd argue, I think for anyone hiring anybody, there's a laziness element of it. You just sort of put something out there, right? It's the last job description that you had. You copy and paste 67% of it, and then you kind of spice it up, right? But if you look at how many jobs there are out there, there's just as many people commenting and posting about wanting to get into this space. So, how are you dealing with that, or how do you see that issue of like how we actually write and recruit?
It's a really good point, Michaela, and it's something that we all need to get better at. What I've been finding with my organisation in my CISO and his organisation is the expectation on the potential candidate. Like I love my SOC guys, I love my SOC managers, but they want the person to have every single thing on that piece of paper. And if they don't have everything on that piece of paper, they're like, yeah, thanks for trying, but no, you had like 80%, but I want 100%. So I think there's an element of comes to skills, and if you seek talented people and candidates that can really challenge themselves and help themselves build their skills and have a level of resilience, it's really important. And so, in order to sort of tackle that problem, what we've done is the global head of talent acquisition is currently in Poland, teaching my SOC managers and my senior engineers how to define, build a good job summary, a good job description, how to get comfortable with not only selling your organization and selling yourself, but also understanding the candidate's key talents and capabilities. I've worked with Checkpoint firewalls, so what? But hey, I've solved problems. I can lead teams to, seek out new ways, new efficient ways to bring value, drive growth, support innovation within the organizational strategy. And it's really, really important that hiring managers and leaders that are building these teams understand that. It's really, really important. And be comfortable going, do you know what, this person's got 70% of that. That's good enough for me because they're fantastic at these 5 things which I really, really need for that role or in my team. That's another important thing to think about.
Well, since we heard about how you got here, Bobby, the next one's about, skills in cybersecurity. Do you need to basically be cyber to be in cyber, right? So tell us how you got here and how are you all of a sudden a CISO or CISO?
So fortunately, I've only been in cyber, going back to when I was in the military.
Yeah.
It was a crap detail that was given to me. I signed up, I enlisted, and I was supposed to be a programmer, but there was a guy that was assigning job duties, and he didn't like me very much. And so he gave me, I was responsible for scanning floppy disks. And then I was also responsible for putting classification stickers on hard drives. That was my job. And so that was my introduction into cyber. So I've only ever done cybersecurity. So I can't speak to whether or not, I didn't do anything cool. I went to the Army and was in cyber. But what I will say is this, that the best candidates that I've hired had no cyber background.
And how, because you've been in this industry as long as you have, how is the profile of a cyber professional changed? How, not just the job functions, but the kind of people required to have a robust cyber organization?
How has the profile of the individuals changed? When I first started in cyber, you had to have deep technical chops. But I think the same is true. If you were, in any IT organization, you had to have deep technical chops. You had to have some level of being able to code. You had to sit at a command line. At some point, you had to be able to do that. I think now you don't have to have deep technical chops to be in any technical job. I don't think so. And I think in cyber, it really is about whether or not you can understand how the adversary thinks, right? What motivates them. And then first and foremost with me is just do you have a good attitude?
Yeah.
I take attitude over anything else. So what does it take to be a good cyber person? Same thing it takes to be a good person. You gotta have a good attitude.
Absolutely. So this next one, kind of going from what you're talking about into the next one, I think they're really related. So, cybersecurity, this myth that it's for techies, people who are either naturally inclined, love technology, know how to code, or just young, right, and sort of hungry, want to get into the space. Yeah. I don't think that's true, and I think that one of the things that you said to me when I was taking this job is that you said the greatest gift you can give someone is an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right? And I've really taken that to heart, just personally and professionally, but also we've deployed that in our thinking on talent, right?
Yeah.
So if you give someone an opportunity, sure, you're giving them something, but you're getting something out of it too. And I do want to talk about the Career Reboot program I'm going to in a second, but I just want to get from you, what inspired you to sort of you came up with the idea. I'm going to give
Yeah.
you all the credit.
Yeah.
I made it happen.
Yeah, you should
came
give me
up with
all
it.
the credit.
Yeah, you're my boss, so I probably should. Yeah, you are.
I should get all
You're a
the
brilliant
credit.
idea.
Not
You're
a
amazing.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay.
So again, like I said, philosophy major, so I'm a thinking person. It all starts with philosophy. My parents worked harder than I will ever work. They were much smarter than me. They worked harder, longer hours. But if you take up everything that they were able to amass, it's not a fraction of what I've been able to. And it's not because I'm smart. It's not because I work so hard, but it's because I happen to be born at a time and happen to get introduced to people that showed me grace and gave me an opportunity. I feel that not just here, but I feel that here. My entire family's life has changed because I was gifted with an opportunity. So what type of hypocrite would I be if I didn't look to do the same thing for someone else? So that's the attitude that I take with everything. How do I give someone with an opportunity? Because we all have a neighbor, nephew, or a niece that we look at and think, had they just been given an opportunity, their entire lives would be different.
Yeah.
And so we talk about how do we hire more people? We talk about we don't have enough people to fill the roles. Then why the hell aren't we gifting people with this opportunity? We're doing good, being good, and doing good for the community, doing good for the industry.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
where it starts.
it didn't have a name. It was just an idea. So the Cybersecurity Career Reboot program, we kicked it off last year, and this is pictures actually of participants in the program currently. Soldier, teacher, nurse, several stay-at-home moms, crime analyst. There was someone who most recently had been, a bus driver in their local community, someone who had a restaurant that was impacted by COVID. So this is the picture of what this program looks like. But just to talk about, what is it actually? So it was just an idea, and I would love to hear any other, hopefully there's a lot of other good ideas here, so this is just one. But we went out, we branded it, we established it, kind of asked for forgiveness later internally from some stakeholders. Yeah. And when we hired 5 people, and I know it just sounds like 5's not that many, but we got to start somewhere. And so we hired 5 people last year, and we created a 6-month program where they come in, they have literally 0 cyber experience. In fact, that is a disqualifier if you have it.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that because people would often say, hey, what's the requirements of being in the program? So the requirement is you have no experience.
None.
That's the requirement. And we have people that applied for the program that tried to lie about having experience. That's a bad thing. You shouldn't have done that.
No, don't do that.
That's a disqualifier. And when I say they lied about having experience, I mean to say this. They said they had experience. And so it's all right, well, you're disqualified for the program. Why? I got experience. No, that's a disqualifier.
And they're like, no, actually, never mind.
No, never mind.
No,
I have no experience.
Yeah, and can't have graduated in the last 12 to 18 months because there's plenty of programs out there for people just graduating, right, from a 4-year program. So put a lot of thought into, okay, well then how do you go find these people? Because you're actually working in a negative, right, what you don't have. But we didn't even promote it really. We actually largely talked about it internally. And to Bobby's story about, everybody has a neighbor or a friend or somebody, we had 200 people just through word of mouth internally. Again, not HPE people. These are people that HPE people know. And so brought these 5 people on. We learned a ton just about how to structure a program like this. They're all going to enter from different places, different amounts of experience, frankly, in corporate America, use of Microsoft. There's just a lot of different places that people were coming in from. But
we had one guy that didn't know that you had to double click on an icon to open it.
Yep, that was one. Yeah, definitely does now. And essentially place them into roles, right, that they were going to be in for their time. And I'm talking about, I want to bring that up because there's a lot of conversation. Well, do we create rotation? Do we have them go experience all that cybersecurity has to offer? And it's like, no. We have a mission, and the mission is that at the end of this 6 months, they're going to walk out of here and feel confident they could put something on a resume that they did. And you can't do that if you rotate around every 2 weeks to something else, right? So we're like, okay, if that is our North Star, then that's how we're going to structure the whole program. What kind of training do they need to do the job they're going to do? What certifications can we help them get? Entry-level certifications. And I think that the tangible results of it were, now we have 3 of those 5 people working at HPE. But I think the intangible, and I'd love to hear what you think, Bobby, but I think the energy that they bring, like it's contagious, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so happy to be there. And I think I didn't get into my background, and I will, but you are all hopefully been in cyber far longer than I have, and it can get tiring and exhausting, and you can get beat down, and this like infusion of energy and appreciation and just like love of the company and the team has been like paid off in spades, I think, just for the rest of the organization.
Yeah, and like Michaela said, we started with 5, and then we did 10, and the next plan is to do 25. And like you sort of, you slowly grow it. And the whole point of it is not like we want to replace everyone, because you can't. And there's some roles, like whether it's malware analysis or doing, investigations or forensics, that you need some people that got tons of cyber experience. So I don't want to discount that or discredit that, because there are roles that, hey, you can't just throw anybody into. But I think that the only way that we solve the problem is by creating talent as opposed to taking talent. And I'm just, I don't know, and I would love to hear what you think about this. I'm just not a fan of poaching organizations for talent. Like, I think that you should be doing more to create talent than take talent.
Yeah, I think it's a cannibalistic angle to me, and it doesn't serve anybody well. In fact, it creates like a microcosm environment where you end up with people that will move very, very quickly for jobs. You end up with people who will hire people very, very quickly for jobs. You end up in a bit of a false economy with the levels of experience and skills, not talent, experience and skills, that can put you in a very difficult position and can actually be detrimental to an organization. It also creates a bit of a circular economy that spirals upwards in terms of just pay, right?
Yeah.
We are expensive resources, no doubt, and we're worth every single penny.
Probably more.
Yeah, I think more. I tell Filippo more all the time.
Probably.
And I've seen this problem in India. I've seen this problem in when I was working with PricewaterhouseCoopers and building a cyber and tech consulting practice from zero. I was number 1 tech dude, and people will move really, really quickly, and it destabilizes the environment, makes it just ultra competitive for funding, and it actually doesn't deliver a good outcome for the economy. It doesn't deliver a good outcome for your organization. It doesn't lead to good partnerships out in the market space. Like, I used to see the Deloitte partners. I'd be like, no, man, I don't want to talk to you. Not to say that I didn't do my fair share, and we did do some team grabs on EY, for example. But it's just it's all about putting back into the. It's all about putting skilling people up, giving them their opportunity, right, which is really, really important, because I had some fantastic opportunities that got me where I am today because people blessed me and gave me those opportunities. But I think it's really, really important to build the future. We have a responsibility to build the cyber capability of the future, the technology capability of the future, and we all in the industry, all of us, have a responsibility and a duty to deliver on that. Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah. And everyone here, like, you're here not just because you wanted to see Ben's shoes. Right? You're here, which are really nice. You're here because you care about, filling the void, making sure you care about hiring people, you care about creating opportunities. So I would say just make sure that you're creating more than you're taking. I'm not discouraging anyone from hiring someone because they came from a different organization. But when you look at your entire organization, I think you should ask yourself the question, like, how many, Michaelas did we take, people who had no cyber background and gave them an opportunity, and they're knocking it out the park. Like, I get high off of that.
I thought you were gonna say you get hot, and I'm very hot. I
Oh no.
just
no.
wanted to
warm.
like call that out. I'm so hot.
The lights are super bright.
No, I,
Well, I don't know if we'll touch on it. I don't know if we'll touch on it a little bit later, Michaela. But there's some fantastic resources out there, and I think what you guys have done at HP is admirable and enviable. That you've taken that you've taken the decision to actually go and do something about it. What I would say is, so maybe not for everybody in the room, and maybe not for every organisation. That's something that they can actually do in-house, right? It does take energy, it takes commitment, it takes dedication, it takes resources, which I think is fantastic.
and not to interrupt you, and it also takes like a level of confidence, because like Michaela said, we didn't ask for permission, and the reason why we didn't ask for permission is because I probably have way too much confidence, like probably way too much. And so I was like, you know what? Like I'd rather ask for forgiveness. Like not everyone thinks like that. There's some people that are like overly concerned about whether or not they'll be impacted. And so as a result of that, they're like, hey, I don't want to do anything drastic.
Yeah.
Like that's never been, so I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to
No,
say
no,
that like, you have to have some confidence.
It's a really solid point, and you have to have the belief.
Yeah.
In yourself and your team's capability to really carry it forward and see it through, and fix a few things. I mean, you said you learned a lot as you were going through the process, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to tailor and shift and move things. It's really important. But I think for some of the others in the room or that are thinking about how do I tackle this problem, you're here because I think you probably are really interested to understand how some of these problems are being solved at organisations like ours. But there's some fantastic resources out there. There's some wonderful resources. And I don't know if we touch on them later. If we do, I'll shut up.
No. Tell, because I know that you're doing something more in a more formal apprenticeship, right?
Yes, exactly.
So tell us about it.
Yeah, so a big fan of apprentices for what they can deliver for an individual, a young person that's looking to build themselves and build skills and build knowledge and capability and challenge themselves. So in the UK, for example, every company, through the taxation process, contributes into a central fund that supports apprenticeships, right? And so we discovered this when HR came to me and said, hey, do you want to take some apprentices? And I was like, 100%, can I have 12? And they were like, no, you can have 5. But they're funded, right? They're funded, and they come through a specific program, the apprentices, for 2 years. So it's a 2-year commitment. And as leaders and managers in the organisation that take on apprentices, you have to help them and make sure that they've got all the time available to complete their coursework and do whatever it is that they have to do for their commitment to the process. But some of my leaders were very apprehensive. They're like, oh my God, is there going to be like a 17-year-old kid they're going to have to babysit and deal with? I've got 3 kids and a dog at home. I don't need another one at work. And my response to that was like, shut up, get on.
That's your response
It's
to
a great
everything.
opportunity. It's a great opportunity, right?
Shut up and go.
I'm really helping you here. And we took in 3, and we had them for 2 years, all 3 of them, and we retained 2 of them. And when I was doing my most recent organisational redesign, those resources were free, by the way, for 2 years. We didn't pay a penny for them.
Wow.
Other than me sending on some cool courses with SANS and sending them to Poland and all sorts of stuff. But when I was in the reorg for the product and platform transformation that we're on now, I made sure that I created permanent roles, and these guys were getting a small wage. As an apprentice, you never make a lot. And overnight, after 2 years of hard graft and work overnight, boom, transformational activity for them, for the opportunity they were given, their salary more than doubled. Right, their salary more than doubled. Like, and these are young professionals coming into the organisation. That kind of liberation, that kind of opportunity is fantastic. And so this year we're seeking 10 apprentices because we have some challenges I explained earlier. Getting talent into the organisation. But my guys, my leaders are like, yeah, hurry up, HR. Freaking figure out the new process, get it done. We need these people like tomorrow. So there's some really good resources out there. Mums to Work was another one that I used when I was in Perth in PwC, which was awesome. We had fantastically skilled women who wanted to come back into the workplace, but on a very, very flexible level. And that worked okay for me in the consulting space, right? Because I was like, I'll just billable hours. Where I find them, I'll get you work. And we brought some just amazing women into the organisation that contributed significantly, whether they were there for 5 days, 3 days, 2.5 days, or 1 day, over a long period of time. So there's some excellent resources, and they weren't cybersecurity people. They were not technology people, but they had the drive, the willingness. They had the right talents that you look for from a leadership perspective, and fantastic skills to offer. So I was like, yep, I'll have that. Let's go.
Let me ask you this: with that moms, and I'm sorry, I just want
I
to
want
ask
you
you a
to
quick.
ask. Go.
Thank you, I appreciate it. With that Moms to Work program, have you thought about providing childcare?
That's a good question.
I only ask good questions.
Yeah, we didn't provide childcare. I think what it was is about being able to be flexible enough to enable them to come back into the workplace, to get back into the workforce as they were. It was very much down to them as an individual, as an individual decision. Did you want to transition into the workforce full time? Did you just want to be able to come into the workforce for mental stimulation, enjoyment, continue driving career forward? I mean, for women, it's very, very challenging to keep that career trajectory going up.
Yeah.
For various reasons. So we didn't offer childcare,
Yeah.
but we certainly did pay good money.
Yeah.
We gave them flexibility. Oh, I don't want to work those hours because I need to do this, and this. So
The reason why I ask is I was on so I think that the unlock for filling the gap is more reboot programs. That's what I think,
Yeah,
right? And that's
I
why
agree.
I'm passionate about. That's why we're doing it. I was on a call last week with someone at a large organization, and what they were saying is they think that the unlock is childcare.
yeah,
They think whatever the discipline is, they were like the first organization that says that, like, we will have on-site childcare is going to just unlock and like open the floodgates, and people will
Absolutely.
flock to them regardless of the salary, regardless of the mission, regardless of the title. And I was like, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it.
I think it's fair. Maybe we don't tie it down just to childcare as well. I mean, it could be aged care. If you've got, if you're a single carer and you have aged parents and all sorts of stuff. And I think we've proved to ourselves that we can be fantastically flexible with our workforce given COVID, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We all sat at home for 2.5 years.
Right.
Some of
I
us
still,
are still there.
I still sit at home.
Still sit at home. All right. Well, let's transition to the last one here, which is career growth is challenging, right? So we talked about. I mean, most of these myths are actually about getting people into the space, but let's talk a little bit about how we keep them, motivate them, and kind of deliver on that purpose at the end of the day that we're bringing more people in. What if they're going to leave at the end of the day because they either don't see growth or they feel like the pressures of it all? Because I think one of the other sad realities of talent shortage or an experience shortage is that the people that are in the organization feel the pain, right? They feel the pain of all those empty seats and all the doubling down of the work. So what, Bobby, how do you think about this for our team? What is your mentality about retaining people?
I would love to get feedback on this, because I'll be honest, this is one that I haven't cracked. This is like an issue that I'm still challenged with, to this day. And that is, I don't even know if you want to retain talent. And here's what I mean by that. So again, I don't want to pretend like I retired from the military. I didn't. I was in for 6 years. But I think that the military model is really good. And if you look at my career, I've modeled my career after the military model. I legit stay at an organization for about 3 years, which is like what you do with a military assignment, and then you go somewhere else. I don't know if that might be the model we should take, and we just get used to that. I got to be careful saying that, because I don't want someone who's coming up on year 3 to be like, oh, Bobby's looking to get rid of me, because I'll probably be gone before you will. But so I don't know about retaining talent. I really don't. And that's a huge challenge, because not everyone has that model. And I recognize that there are some people that really just want to stay at that organization. And that's why I need help in that area, because I'm like, that's not how I think. So I got to hire people that think like that to make sure that we have these career mapping programs for the people that just want to stay there.
Yeah, well, maybe the mentality is not retaining, maybe it's not about not letting them go to another organization, but it's actually that kind of 3-year model internally. If we think about how do we actually just create new opportunity for people within HPE, they can still stay, and it's almost like they did a Bobby and went to somewhere else, but they actually
But
just
what
stayed
about the person
within
that just
HPE.
wants to stay in their role? All I want to do is stay here in this role for 20 years and not move, and I want my desk, and I want my cheese board at 11. What about those people?
There's a cheese board.
That could be.
Yeah, that
I've
could
never
be.
seen
Yeah.
a cheese board, for the record. I don't even know.
Now we're talking.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, what about those people? Because I don't want to
Like,
force.
are you okay with those people?
I'm okay with them,
Yeah.
but I just don't know how to keep them happy if they don't want to leave. Like, to me, the rotating is a great thing, but to the person, like, you still have to keep them happy,
Yeah.
but they don't want to move. So it's like, how do you incentivize people like that? I don't know.
Right.
Like this, I'm being honest. I don't know.
No. I don't know anything, man. I've got two aspects, maybe two perspectives on that. One, the first one is if we get better at this as a cybersecurity technology community, then supporting that movement of skills, talent, capacity, and capability becomes less of a burden because it's there. If it's there, it's organically grown. It's there. Moving between our organizations, going from one consulting firm to the next, going from one CPG to the next, going out to financial services or whatever it is you do. We can sustain that within the population. So that's one thing. So I think that's why we have an obligation to continue to focus on this, call it out as a challenge, and try and help solve the problems at a community level, global community level. It's really important that we keep the eye on the prize. And then I also think from a retention perspective, look, there's people make money out of this, and there's lots and lots of science around it. But I think if you give good opportunity, if you have a really good, and this comes down to culture, if you have a really good culture or the organizational culture, and people will fit into it, and some will love it and want to stay there for 20 years. Others will be like, oh, I've come here, I've got myself a new set of skills, I've knocked it out of the park, I've been supported and developed over this last 3 years, brilliant. I'm done, I'm out the door. I'm not prepared to wait around for dead man's shoes, right? So in my organization, for example, I came into Reckitt in 2018. Off the back of NotPetya in 2017, decimated the company, complete friggin' disaster. But I spent 3.5 years working my ass off, building a team, getting stuff done, building the maturity, tools, technology, processes, capabilities, talent, skills, all that kind of stuff done, sorted it out. And I sort of came to the end of 3.5 years, and I was sort of thinking, what do I do now? I'm working with Filippo, who's my boss, Filippo Catalano, who came to Reckitt from Nestle. He was like, oh, how about we just take all of digital workplace? How about we take all of global platforms, so all of your cloud environment retained on-prem? How about we take second line controls and capabilities, and we'll build out strategy and operations organization over here, and we're going to move to product and platform. So he asked the CISO to go do that for him. He said, right, you don't do that anymore. We've got some really good capabilities, some talent, some excellent pipeline and succession planning we built and committed on. This is another really important thing. Do you guys have to, or have you been through a succession planning process? Yeah? Okay. So succession planning processes are great and work when somebody leaves. Right?
Right.
I could have a great successor and sit in my role because I love it for the next 20 years, and we'll just, we'll bleed that succession. So you have to be prepared in the organization occasionally to take some steps and be really brave about it and move people out to create that movement, which then, it then feeds back into the process of, hey, I can build a capability, I can build a career here, I can challenge myself in lots of different areas. I can build technical skills, I get opportunity to go and spend time with the audit committee, I get time to spend with the risk committee, I spend it with the GC, I get all of these opportunities that you don't normally, that you might not get otherwise somewhere else. So I think it's really important to think about these things to help create the right cultural environment that people want to stay for as long as they need to have a fantastic experience, build up their skills, get challenged from new assignments, or make the decision to move on, and you help them do it, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, you and I have had that conversation before about whether it's appropriate for you to celebrate somebody leaving, publicly, right? Someone's on LinkedIn, like, I've gotten a new job. He was like, I'm tempted to like it because I'm happy for her. I mean, we grew her. She'd had multiple great roles here. Now she's out in the world doing this kick-ass job. He's like, but if I like it, then people think I'm like, peace,
I like
see you
that
later.
she's gone.
I like that she's gone. But
yes, you
solved the problem.
Left.
Didn't
like,
have to have an awkward conversation.
Exactly.
Flew the coop, and that's a good thing because HPE prepared her for this other opportunity she would not have otherwise been given. So no, I understand the sort of the different motivations behind this.
I feel a sadness when we lose an individual, a couple of individuals, not on a personal scale, but I think, oh my God, we worked really hard and we supported. Oh, we're going to have to fill that void.
Yeah.
But there's I don't know if you've met Noel. Did you? Noel, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So Noel, he was almost in tears one day when one of his most amazing application security guys, like an absolute guru, giant Polish man, fantastic gentleman, and he left. And Noel was almost in tears. And I said to him, look, what an amazing opportunity for this individual to go somewhere else. And I said to him, so long as we've baked a good cake, we're good, right? We worked hard, we had all the right ingredients, we had the right culture, we had the right mindset to develop him. He contributed significantly. He helped upskill others in the team. We're putting a good one back in. We're putting a good one back into the pool.
Yeah.
So I think you must celebrate.
Yeah.
Personally, I think you must celebrate when someone finds that opportunity somewhere else, because you've contributed towards them achieving that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you should celebrate it.
Yeah, good. Glad that you're on the same page, the two of you then.
Get busy liking, man.
Yeah, well, I think we have probably just less than 10 minutes left, so I do want to make sure that if anyone has questions or comments or ideas, love to hear it. Really quickly though, mini lightning round, and I say mini because it's literally one question. If you weren't, sliding doors moment didn't happen, you're not a CISO, what are you?
I'd be a barber.
Barber.
Yeah, cut hair.
Okay?
I like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of satisfaction. Right?
Yeah, like you sit
Cathartic
around,
almost.
you just talk to people, watch sports.
Get the
Like
gossip.
just hang in there. Like
Get
you're
the local-
off every Sunday and Monday.
Local town gossip.
Yeah, like so I'd be cutting hair.
Fantastic.
Okay.
I'd be a barber.
Ben, what would you do?
Oh, that's a really tough question. Okay. In fact, I was with my boss when we were talking about it Monday night.
So you should have it ready.
Yeah.
No?
Well,
Or you just two different ways you could have gone?
No, for me it would be something probably hands-on. I think it would maybe be farming. Maybe. I love the challenge and just the general. You've got to find stuff and fix it as a farmer. You've got to do some gypsy engineering. It's like, really, it's really, or outback engineering, as we call it, which is, solving problems and having a bit of fun with a mad farm dog's brilliant, or making wine.
Oh.
And that just happens to be something that's
Family business.
a family thing. So
I think the good news about all of your answers is that these are retirement options for you. You could open a barber shop.
when I retire, I'm doing nothing.
There could be a career reboot in your future, Bob.
Exactly.
Well, I talked a little bit about, just really quick, because we probably
Can
referred.
I just make
Yeah, go ahead.
a comment? We didn't defend it, right? I know some people would be like, no, I would never do that. I couldn't do that. I want to be the next Caesar. I want to be this.
Yeah.
But he wants to cut hair. I want to go be a farmer and dig holes.
Yeah.
To each their own.
Yeah. It's just a different perspective. Isn't
No,
it?
we've talked a lot about how I don't have cyber experience. I feel like it's worth explaining because, why am I here? I have been in tech for a really long time. I was in brand and advertising and made all of our companies big global ad campaigns, and ran social media back when that was a thing, and I don't know, when it was a new thing, let's say, kind of on the cutting edge. And yeah, launched, so HPE used to be HP, right? We split into two companies, so it was a really big part of launching the new company. But after many years, I was like, all right, I think I've done this, I've done enough for this company. It's been, it's probably 8 years at that point. And then I got connected to Bobby sort of randomly, and I'm like, what am I gonna do in cybersecurity? But I have to tell you, it's been so amazing because I'm just a great example myself of you don't have to come up through cyber. I mean, I'm a VP role, I report to him, I have large responsibility, and I'm using my skills that I had from my past, right? Whether that's my communications, strategic skills, business understanding, people person, love people. And that's really adding something to the group, I hope.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Just patting myself
Yeah,
on the back
no.
now, but I'm learning an absolute ton. So it's been like a mind-bending experience for me. So anything is possible for absolutely anybody.
I agree. You're doing phenomenal.
Oh, thanks. Is this being recorded?
When's the end of year review?
Yeah, if we could just tweet about that, that'd be great. Question.
If you could go to the mic.
Yeah, go to the mic. Oh, we got one.
Who's first to the mic?
He won. He
make a
got
cue.
there first.
Make a cue.
Go ahead.
Take a number.
I
Is
don't
it
think,
working?
is it?
There we
okay.
go.
Bobby, thank you for your service. Ben, to parrot what you were saying as far as a no 4-year degree, I work for a $200 billion organization, and I'm a senior director with no 4-year degree as well. So
It's awesome.
Good for you,
that
man.
is, it's
Yeah.
possible,
Amazing.
right?
Good job.
Question I had is, as y'all are going through both your programs, the apprenticeship and then the filling the gap, what are some key indicators on the non-experienced side that showed the best success?
Yeah.
Like,
I'll go-
like personality trait
Yeah,
or like
personality
skill of the yeah,
traits,
you go
the
first. and I can
skills.
go.
Yeah, real quick, positive attitude. Seriously.
Yeah. I think excitement about the program itself, right? Like a real understanding of what we were trying to do. I had people parroting the website who felt really passionate about this idea of opportunity. I mean, just like a real, they hadn't just applied sort of on a whim with a million other things that they'd applied to. They very specifically were seeking a reboot of their career, a transition of their own, and that cyber was a place they weren't necessarily convinced that they wanted to be in, but they felt they could. And you just get on the phone with some of these people and you're like, I need you to work here. Like, it's just this, like, we try to be really structured about it, really fair, ask the same exact questions, be really, really thoughtful about it. But at the end of the day, you just kind of get a feeling, right, about somebody. And so it's a little bit intangible, I'd say, there.
So I agree with everything you've said, and I think everybody who's been a hiring manager, straight away when someone walks into a room and they light it up. Straight away they're bringing the energy. They will have really interesting dialogue and conversations with you, and you want that in your organisation, right? That's the talent part. The skills part, as part of this program, sorry, man. Zapped you.
Just pushing them.
The skills part, you can fill that in. You can fill that in all day long. But I think it's really important to bring that positive attitude, feel that energy, feel that person light the room up. Like Michaela said, you're like, hey, you got to come work for me. I don't care what you do. We will get you busy, but I need you in my
Exactly.
organisation.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Hi, I think what you coined it as, or what I coined it as, is attitude over aptitude. I'm a hiring manager, and I will take good attitude over aptitude any day, because if you are a sourpuss, I don't want you on my team.
100%.
So I do have a question. As a hiring manager at the Department of Treasury, government and Glacier, we both move slow. I would love to lock arms with HP, or just private industry, so that we can bring fresh talent in, because again, I will hire a good attitude over aptitude any day and train them up, because we do have a very aging workforce in our industry, and it's important for me to grow our industry with young people and with people who look like me, because we are very underrepresented. So I would love to speak to you afterwards
Yeah,
and
please do.
Yeah.
get your take on that.
That'd be great.
That'd be phenomenal.
Good,
Yeah, thank you.
Good question. Good challenge.
So first of all, I enjoyed you guys. I appreciate this. Some good things came out of this. I like that experience over talent. Bobby, I kind of went your route. I was a programmer in the military. I got all the certifications. I got the degree. I did all of those things, worked in law enforcement, Big Four consulting, all of that stuff. So I kind of went through the whole, channel to get where I'm at now. And I also understand even about the SOC. You answer that question, man, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Because the retain people in SOC is really hard.
Exactly.
You have on-call, you have people just rotating all the time. You got to keep them up. But I like the way you think as far as, getting, rotating and stuff like that after so many years. But I will say this. He kind of hit on it a little bit, the other guy. But how do you limit it down to 5 people? I can give you about 100 people that are excited.
Yeah.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Really,
know.
I can give them to you now.
Right.
So,
Well, I can, So I'll admit, the first time when we hired the 5, that's one of the learnings. It was less
Okay.
structured, right? Less thoughtful, because we were doing it for the first time. But the second time, we took a learning from the first time, which was, we're going to identify the job they're going to do before they get here, right? So we went to all of my peers, the entire leadership team. You must have a job on your team. People were like, oh, I need 3, So, but we wanted to know exactly what they were going to be working on, because certain jobs require different things. And so for example, one of the 10 people, she has been a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 years, but she was a developer in India prior to that. So she has deep technical experience. It's just a little bit aged, right? And I'm like, I actually think it's not that aged. Like she was feeling a lot more reticent about it than we were. But we put her in the cloud security function because what they need is actually someone, you couldn't really do that job without a little bit of technical background. So part of it was matching some experience to skills, right? Healthcare, I mean, this woman is a nurse. She had a lot of scary things happen to her personally, but also saw a lot of scary things. But she also had done a campaign within the hospital to decrease bed sores because people were, leaving the hospital sicker than they came, right? So she had done a campaign. I'm like, okay, you would be great in my organization because you not only have this like experience I will never get, but you have the communications and the kind of drive to go do something on your own that no one told you to do. So it's sort of like, that was the learning is I want to know the job, and then I'm going to match not just the energy, but something that they have done prior relates to what they're going to be doing here.
So I'm going to go. I don't want to keep going because I don't want to take everybody's time. But the add-on to that is I do look at people and their attitude first when I bring them in. The problem is, like Bobby was talking about, and Ben kind of alluded to it too, is that I'm dealing in specialized things, developers and coders and programmers and forensic people. And it's like you just can't throw new people into that because it's kind of like you got to have something when you come into that, especially if you're running with a skeleton crew. Yeah. Like I'm talking about you got just a skeleton crew and you're trying to bring new people in. So I agree with that, but we could talk about that later.
Yeah.
So I know we got to stop now. So I'll say, Barrington, if you could ask your question. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Barrington, you ask your question so everyone can hear it. If it's a good question, we'll answer it in front of everyone. If not, then I'll answer it in the back.
If you've got a good answer, then we
I
answer
have a
it.
great answer. It's just, yes, I have the right question.
All right, full disclosure, Bobby gave me my break into cyber. I was a CMDB guy, and I'd never done cyber, and he employed me in his team, and I'm now a director for cybersecurity at one of the world's biggest fast-moving consumer goods. So I want to say thank you again in public. But, one of the challenges for people who are non-cyber people who come into this space, and the gentleman touched on it, is you have a lot of people who've put in the work.
Yeah.
And bringing in people who haven't got that experience and that level of, battle scars that these guys have, how do you keep those guys engaged and encouraged to actually keep going and realizing that this is a pro, not a con?
Yeah, so that's a beautiful question.
It really
like in
is.
the words of Warren Berger, we haven't figured that out yet. And we're dealing with that inside the organization now. And so we're trying to solve that. So we can keep the conversation going, but honestly, we don't have an answer.
No, definitely have not solved it. I do think time, makes it better. Like the fact that, number one, we're committed to doing this. It's not going away. So it's not a fad. It's not a test. This is going to be one of the ways, not the only way at all, but one of the ways that we bring talent into the organization forever. Yeah. So we got to get on board. There's an element of that. I definitely think placing people into jobs that they're suited to do this time around, I've gotten such positive feedback from the teams that these individuals have been placed in. They're seeing the value right away. So that's the other thing. But I think the bigger question about, well, what about everybody else is sort of what we were talking about on Myths 5, and it's not solved.
Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thank you very much,
Thank
guys.
you.